Hello audience. Today we're going to be talking about how to use model sheets. Now, a model sheet looks like this, and this is how I see some people do it. It's the wrong way. Heads are not circles, and you don't need to trace the entire thing perfectly. It just doesn't work that way. That's not what the model is for. Instead, use the model and build upon it. Decide what your character is going to be, male, female, and if they're going to be thin or fat, and what their individual body is going to look like. And use the model sheet and build upon it. You can see how I'm smoothing everything, and I'm not exactly following all the lines, even though I have a thin character. This is important to remember because the model sheet isn't an end-all for your art. It's a base, and you build upon it like the foundations of a building. And if you just trace it, you're not learning anything. You've got to work on it yourself, and you got to practice. And you got to remember the base isn't the end, especially for the face. See how I'm making the face different than the circle? Your head is not a circle. And even though I kind of crapped out on this one, it looks a lot better than the original wrong way of doing it, doesn't it? Now, here's an example of how to make a female model into a male model. It's actually very simple. If you see one of my female models and you want it to be male, all you have to do is make the chest boxier and bigger, make the arms bulkier, and make the legs bulkier as well. And sometimes you have to change the pose a little bit to make it more masculine. Like this one's very feminine, so you have to change the way the feet look so that it looks a little less feminine. Unless you want to draw a femboy, which is fine. Then it'd be fine. See how simple it is? Now, the same goes for turning a male model I've drawn into a female model. You make the chest smaller, you make the hips wider, and you make the arms thinner. You can just draw completely over it, make a new model, and then draw your character on top of that model. And with the legs, you make them smoother. Men's legs are a little bulkier. Women's legs are very smooth and defined. Now I'm going to show you how to make a model sheet look muscular. See, I've defined the pectorals. That's a big thing for making a muscular looking character. And see how bulky I'm making the arms? And even though it's sharp lines, that's fine because when you're a bodybuilder, you have sharp lines. It's what defines being muscular. It's another word for it is being cut. So I'm making this character cut. See how it's a little wider than what I've drawn for the original model? And I'm turning him into a horse, in case you're wondering. Because what's more muscular than a horse? See how I use the circle to define where the skull is, but not where the jaw is? You have to pay attention to that when you're drawing characters, because, as I said before, heads are not circles. The skull itself is a circle, and the jaw makes it another shape, and you have to define that shape. And now I'm going to show you how to make something look obese or overweight. Not terribly obese. See how I'm using the same model sheet, but I can turn it into a fat guy pretty easily just by manipulating how thick the limbs are and how thick the belly is. I'm just making everything fatter because that's basically every fat person has the same skeleton as every thin person. All you have to do is put the fat on it to make them fat. It's not really that hard. That's why I say you can use my model sheets for heavy characters, and it's the same thing. You just have to work a little harder to work outside the lines. And I'm turning him into a lion. I was having a little trouble with his face, but as you can see again, I'm using the circle for his skull, but I'm adding upon it. I'm not focusing on it. And here's his mane taking shape. I'm not very good at ears right now. I think it looks pretty good.